As we continue this self-preservation month, we cannot go forward without talking about boundaries. Boundaries are so important if you want to live a higher quality of life. If you want to be more intentional with your time, your energy, the people that are in your circle, the work that you do or don't do, you must have very strong boundaries. This is something that I didn't really understand until I started my journey with people pleasing, when I realized, like, no, I can't be on the phone all day. No, I can't say yes to everything. Yes, it's okay for me to say no. And so it's important that you have boundaries for yourself and for other people. And I say for yourself because you must have standards and lines that you won't cross in order for you to be your higher self, to reach certain goals, to get certain things done. So we're going to talk about boundaries. Boundaries help you to also build self-respect and self-trust. When you stick to what you said you will or won't do, you're building that trust for yourself and trusting that you can get things done and that you can also put yourself first. It also helps to boost your confidence. It helps to boost your productivity levels. So boundaries all around are not just about other people. They're also about yourself and what you will allow yourself to do or not allow yourself to do. It's making your yeses be yeses and your no's no's. I say that because it's very easy to say that you're going to do something or say you won't allow certain things to happen, but sometimes you kind of allow yourself to do it because you're trying to please other people, because you're giving into your flesh, giving into your desires. And so it's important that you let your no's be no's and your yeses be yeses. I'm not saying that you can't help other people or that you can't make mistakes. It's just being very intentional with what you want and what you want to do, and vice versa. A lot of people struggle with boundaries, including myself, because of guilt, because of people pleasing, because of simply just not having standards for your life, not knowing what you want, not knowing what you want to do. And so it's harder for them to set up these guidelines for themselves and set up these like what I like to call set up a strict program for your life and for, what you want in your relationships, what you want in your career, what you want in your friendships. And so it's very important, once again, that you have boundaries with everything, not just, when it comes to relationships or only when it comes to dealing with friends. You need it with your coworkers, your boss, you need it with your family, you need it with yourself. As I mentioned, having boundaries is protecting your energy without explaining yourself. One thing that I really worked on, which I will talk about, is saying no without giving an explanation, because one of the things that I used to do that was a part of my people pleasing tendencies was having to explain why I can't show up for somebody, why I can't go to this event, why I can't give them the money, instead of just saying no because you are looking out for your greater good and you're also in a way protecting the other person, just depending on what the scenario is. So I'm going to tell you guys my top boundaries that I have. Some of these are more mental or just having to do with how I think. And then a lot of these are actual actions that I do or don't take. So first we want to talk about the fact that I do not answer every single phone call immediately. I'm a very family oriented person, right? I love all things like family trips. I love helping my family. I love being around my family no matter how toxic they may be. But something that I would do is answer every single phone call. And I would be on the phone for hours. Say that I told myself I was going to record a YouTube video at 12, but then someone calls me at 11:50. And I say, hey, just so you know, I do have something to do. So let's just make this quick. And somehow that turns into a 2-hour conversation and I never get to do what I said I was going to do. So one thing that I said back then was okay, you don't have to answer every single phone call right when they call you. And I think, just with social media and having these devices, we all feel obligated to other people. We are too accessible to other people, especially now with locations and things of that nature. We feel like we got to have everybody at our fingertips. We got to know what everyone's doing, where they're going. And now with social media, you can kind of see what everyone's doing if they're posting it. And so because of that, it's kind of caused us to feel like people have to text you back. They have to answer your phone call. And that's just not the case. Back in the day, you used to have to wait to call somebody. You know, you have to leave a voicemail and tell them to call you back whenever you get a chance. But nowadays, like, we just expect people to answer right then and there. Same thing like with Wi-Fi. Like, we have no patience anymore. When we go out in public or we go to somebody's house and it takes a little minute for the Wi-Fi to work, we start to get impatient, get anxious, get all jittery, instead of just being patient and waiting for things to process. And so even with the phones, like, we just feel like we gotta talk to people when we want to talk to them, and if they not answering the phone right then and there, oh, it's an issue. I'm not that person. If I call somebody and they don't answer, I don't take it personal. And I expect that same thing in return. If I don't answer your call, don't assume, you know, just because I don't answer that I have an issue. Like, no, I'm a very busy woman. I work about 50 hours a week on top of pouring hours into my YouTube channel, into building my brand. So I don't really have the time to talk about nonsense, to do the small talk, to sit on the phone for hours. Every single 30-minute window matters to me. This morning, I woke up at 7 a.m. I got up immediately, brushed my teeth, washed my face, prayed, went to the gym, got there before 8 o'clock, worked out for an entire hour, left the gym at 9, came home, cooked breakfast, took a shower, cleaned up a little bit, and then I was like, okay, I gotta record this video. It is currently 10:21. I have to be at work at 11:30. Every single minute and hour matters if you are being intentional with your life. So I decided, you know what? I don't have to answer every phone call. I'll give y'all an example today. My mom called me while I was at the gym. My phone is on D&D, so I didn't see it. I do keep my phone on Do Not Disturb certain parts of the day, example, in the mornings. And I still haven't called her back. Unfortunately, I know why the reason she's calling is not important. I don't know why she's calling, but it's not important. I've tested it out. The last few times she's called me, no offense, Mom, I love you, it hasn't been things that are actually important. So I said, you know what? I do not have to answer every single phone call or respond immediately once I see that I have a missed call. I'm going to call her back on my way to work. That's a boundary that I have. Another boundary to go along with this is that I do not talk on the phone during my workouts, and working out is a non-negotiable for me. A lot of times people will try to intrude themselves unintentionally when it comes to knowing that my day and how I do things. They'll call me, like how my mom called me and I was at the gym. I don't like to talk on the phone when I'm at the gym because it gets me distracted, holds me up, especially if I'm on a time crunch. I have a certain amount of time that I allot for the gym, which is about an hour. I have 20 minutes of cardio, 40 minutes of strength training. So I have to be intentional with every single minute when I'm at the gym. My rest time, going in between exercises, like I need every minute. So I do not talk on the phone when I'm at the gym. And then working out is a non-negotiable. I say that because it is very easy to not make the gym a priority, not making working out a priority and essential to my life. And sometimes people will ask you to do things that could get in the way of you working out. For example, last week I had a friend who wanted to borrow something from me, and she asked me last minute. She needed it the next day. I wasn't tripping. She lives pretty close to me. She's very flexible with, like, oh, can we meet? I'll come to you, whatever the case may be. But I had to make sure that I did not allow her to ask to meet at a time that was in my workout. So I told her, hey, we can meet anytime after 12 p.m. because guess what? Before 12 p.m., I am waking up, getting ready for the gym, going to the gym, coming back, cooking breakfast, doing a little bit of cleaning. That is the time that I have for myself. It's a non-negotiable. I do not allow people to come in and pull away from what one of my top priorities are. Like I mentioned earlier, number 3, I do not over-explain my nose. I used to be someone that's really, really big on, and it's not even that I was big. It was just the fact that that was my default. I was a people pleaser. I didn't want to let people down. I didn't want to come off as being not dependable, not somebody you can count on. So I would over-explain myself in hopes that the other person will understand. Even though most of the time they still wouldn't understand. They still would be mad at you, still put you into this box of someone who's not supportive. And guess what? I was like, you know what? I am tired of that, especially being that these people would never give me that same energy. They will always show up late to my things or never come to the things that I had or just don't even give a crap about what I have going on. And I'm like, you know what? I am putting a stop to over-explaining myself. So, for example, my cousin, she just got a dog and she was supposed to go on a trip and she asked me if I personally would babysit her dog. And one, it's not just me, you know what I'm saying? I have a husband, we both have to agree on something. And it took me a minute to respond because I'm like, how do I say no without over explaining myself, but also just letting it be clear of what my boundary is? And I let her know. It was very short. I said, hey, I won't be able to, or I said we, because I wanted her to understand, like, this is a we thing, not an I thing. I said, we won't be able to keep her dog. We're very busy. We just won't have the time to pour it into her. Kept it very simple. It was literally like one sentence. And she responded, with a very nice response. I'm hoping she understood. If she didn't, I really don't care. We still went talking since then, so she didn't make it a big thing, but it was just a simple fact of not over explaining myself. When people would ask me for money, certain family members, I would go into this whole thing of like, oh, like you asked me, within a window of me already using my budget for, these 2 weeks. I have a certain way of doing my money, like just going into this whole spiel of like why I can't give you the money, and maybe not wanting to go into my savings account instead of just saying no, I can't at this time. Or, hey, I can't today, but maybe in a week. Like, you get what I'm saying? It's just, I would over explain why I can't do certain things when they don't care about any of that. All I see is no. They don't see your understanding. They don't see what your priorities are, how you live your life, what systems and routines you have. They don't care about any of that. So it's like, why am I giving out so much energy into explaining my no? I stopped doing that, and I don't do it anymore. I don't care what it is. Even if, like, the other day my manager or she's not even my manager anymore, one of my colleagues asked me to come in early the other day, and my response was, I will try. I have to go to the gym. Like, that was it. Like, I'm not about to, even though it seems like I'm explaining, I'm just letting you know what my boundary is. I'm not allowing you to dictate my schedule and my routine and my priorities. I want you to know how to treat me so that the next time you ask me to come in early, or you think about asking me, you say, you know what? Last time I asked her, she said that she had to go to the gym before she went to work. So let me not even ask her, because I know she's coming in at 11. That means that she's going to make sure that she goes to the gym before she come into work. Thank you. Like, you want to show people how to treat you. Let people know how to respect you, or why they should respect you. And it's sad that you have to really gain your respect, but if you don't, people will manipulate you. They will be narcissistic, and that's just the reality of human nature. And so it's very important that you don't over explain yourself. You don't send paragraphs. You don't overcomplicate it. You say what it is and let it be that. Don't try to over explain or overexert yourself in order to make somebody else comfortable, or so that they will see you a certain way. No, you have to be intentional about that. You're putting too much energy into it. And sometimes I'll send out that one sentence text message and I might think about it like, dang, like, did that come off wrong? But what's done is done. It is what it is. They got the message. I hope they understand. If not, that's not my problem. Number 4, to go along with that, is getting comfortable with saying, I'll think about it. A lot of times people will call you, and it's a tactic that I learned. People will call you asking you to do something because they want that answer right then and there, right? It's different if you send out a text, like how my cousin texted me about the dog. I was able to take time to think about it. Versus if somebody call you immediately, or they're right there in your face and they're asking you something, they want a response right then. And they're using human psychology to say it's going to be hard for them to come up with a no right then and there. They're more than likely going to say yes. So I'm going to ask her right now. I'm going to call her. But no, you have to get comfortable saying, I'll think about it. I'll get right back to you. Let me call you back. It's not rude. It's not selfish. It's not mean. It's you practicing self-preservation, building up a boundary for yourself so that you can actually think about if you want to make this decision. Because every decision matters. There are going to be situations that are emergencies where you have to respond right then. Most of the time when people ask you to do something, they will make it seem like it's an emergency, and it's really not an emergency. I just had this example. I had a family member. I was out of town. I was 2 hours away in Tennessee, and this person knew that I was driving back to Atlanta that morning to go to work. I had to make a quick trip the night before, but I told myself I had to go back early the next morning to go to work, right? This person called me. They had my location. They saw my location, and they called me to ask me if I would come get them on my way into Atlanta to take them to work because their car was having issues, right? Even though they lived really close to their job and they could have did Uber, and I know for a fact they had the money to do Uber. But here's the thing. First they text me. No, they called first. I did not answer. One, my phone was on do not disturb, but then I seen it and I was like, I'm not responding. I'm not calling back right now. It's too early. So they called me. I didn't respond. Then they texted me and was like, hey, can you get back to me? It's an emergency. Got on the phone. It really was not an emergency. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is a situation where you only did it because you knew I was driving into town. You knew that I was going to pass your side of the town in order to get to work, and you wanted to take advantage. Unfortunately, guess what I did? I picked up that person, took him to work. I remember that day saying, I will never do this again. My nose got to be nose, and I got to have my strong boundaries. And so this is what I mean. Like, you have to be comfortable with giving yourself time to say no or to think about the situation, thinking about how it will affect you. Like I said, people will make things that are not an emergency seem like it's an emergency by calling you or by saying it to you in person so that you don't have time to think about the answer. Get comfortable saying, let me get back to you. I'm going to call you back. Give me one moment. I'll think about it. Be comfortable with that. Let that be a boundary that you have. Another boundary that I have is that I forgive people, but I do not keep toxic people in my life. And I love people from a distance, especially family members. I have had some very rocky roads with very close family members in my life. Mostly, I will be honest and say my parents. We can get into that one day if you guys want. I have had to have strong boundaries with what I will tolerate and what I won't tolerate. I'm really big on not holding grudges. I don't like to hold that hatred in my body, that anger in my body. I don't like to hold it in. But I have learned how to forgive people, but also still have my boundaries to where I don't allow you to disrespect me. I don't allow myself to just be around you when I know being around you is not beneficial to me. I hate to say it like that. When I say beneficial, I mean when I'm around you, we're not talking about things that are about helping us, helping each other, getting to the next level. I'm pouring into an empty cup. That's what I mean when I say not beneficial. It's very important that you know who those people are in your life that are toxic, that are not taking accountability, that don't put other people's interests above their own. They're not empathetic or sympathetic. They are not into reciprocal relationships. They're very selfish. You got to be aware of those people in your life and figure out how to, okay, I can't cut this person out of my life because they're family. I'm going to see them at family events. You know, they haven't done anything that's causing me physical harm or physical danger. It's just the mind games that they like to play. Figure out how you can love them from a distance. So for example, with one of my parents, I have a relationship to where I talk to you once a week. We check in with each other, or I'll have to be the one to be the bigger person and check in with them. If it's more than once a week, that's great. But I don't talk to this person every single day. We don't have a good relationship to where we can talk every single day. And then also I have family members where I don't go to every family function. I may go hang out with you on Christmas. You know, I may come to the Christmas family function, but I'm not coming to your house every weekend just because you live in the same city as me. I am not, you know, calling you every day telling you my business. I have boundaries with every single person in my life. I know what I can withstand, and I know what is too much. I have boundaries with certain family members of, okay, if we talk on the phone, it's only going to be for this much. If we hang out, we're only doing these type of activities. You got to have boundaries, because if not, people will use you. They will manipulate. They will invade your privacy. They will try to sabotage. They will trauma dump. You got to have boundaries with people. But with that, you do have to forgive when people do you wrong, just for your own feelings, your own emotions, just for your own spirit and how you want to operate in the world and show up in the world. But it's also important that you have boundaries with those people who are not meant to be around you long term, or they're not going to elevate with you on your journey. Lastly, this is very important. This ties into pretty much everything I said as to why you got to have boundaries. For me, character speaks more volume than anything. You know the saying, action speaks louder than words. Sometimes people's words can say a lot too. Let's not play like words don't matter, because they do matter. But you have to pay attention to people's character versus what they say they will do or who they say they are. You got to pay attention to how they show up. So for me, I pay attention to people's character and I operate based on that. For example, I have family members who they're always late to the functions and they think it's okay, whether it's their own function, whether it's my function, whether it's the family function. I pay attention to character. You're choosing to show up late on purpose. I believe that showing up late is a very narcissistic behavior tendency. That's just what I believe. I've done the research on it. It is a thing. You're basically saying that your time is more valuable than everyone else's time, especially if you do it consistently and repeatedly. So for me, with these certain family members, I learned to not show up early to certain things because I know they're not going to be there. I learned that I'm not going to have something that's very important to me and expect them to be there on time or expect them to even show up, because character speaks more volume than anything. If you pay attention to people who, they may tell you like, yeah, like I lied and told so-and-so this, that should tell you something about their character. If they're going to tell you that they lied to somebody else, they're going to lie to you one way or another. I'm a perfect example for this. When I was in college, I had this friend who we went to high school together. She went to the same college as me. We weren't really that much of friends in high school, but once we got to college, freshman year, we were in the same dorm. We became really good friends. And we had a mutual friend who, her parents took really good care of her. She didn't really have to work. She didn't really struggle the way other college students may struggle when it comes to just finances and being able to take care of themselves. And this friend from high school literally told me out of her own mouth that she was purposely being around this person to use them for their money, because they were doing Ubers to school, their clothes that they had, using their electronics, because she had a pair of Beats that she used at the gym. Like, she told me that she was intentionally using this friend. And I remember being like, oh, this girl is crazy. Like, the fact that she's like we already knew it, we peeped it, but for her to say it out loud, that told me a lot about her character. And guess what? She had to go. So you have to pay attention to the signs, pay attention to the red flags, listen to what people say, and also pay attention to what they do. How people treat other people is also a reflection of how they would treat you, whether it's to your face or behind your back. So to protect yourself, you need to pay attention to people's character. What are their morals? What are their values? What are their principles? What do they stand on? How do they operate in their workplace? How do they operate in other relationships? How do they talk about people? Like, you have to pay attention to their character, because people will talk a good game. They'll wear a mask. They will manipulate. They will try to make it seem like they're a good person the whole time. They're doing some shady stuff. Like, you have to be aware of it, and you have to also do your research to educate yourself on human nature. Understand the psychology behind why people do certain things that they do, and just come to this full understanding of the fact that there are a lot of traits that many people have that they aren't even aware of is detrimental to themselves and to other people. So it's a very strong boundary that you need to have, that you will not ignore the red flags, and you will allow someone's character to speak for you and show you if this person should be in your life or not, whether it's a little bit small talk, or if this is someone that you want to have in your life long term, whether that's friendships, coworkers, colleagues, family, all the things. So these are some of the top boundaries that I have. I have a lot more boundaries, but these are the ones that really pour into all areas of my life. It's very important that you have boundaries for yourself in order for you to practice self-preservation, to be able to operate at a high level, get things done, but also to protect your energy and your peace. If you don't protect your peace and be intentional with how you are treated, being intentional with how you want to treat other people, your life will be a mess. It will be chaotic. You want to live a life that is as less chaotic as possible. Things are going to happen in life. They're going to pop up. The least you can do is be intentional with how you spend your time, how you spend your energy, and who you are spending that time and energy with. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you can get something from it. You can take one of these boundaries. Comment below with a strong boundary that you have that you do not negotiate with, and let's talk about it. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.